Thank you, Mr. Krishnan. Ladies and gentlemen, namaste, adab, good morning. Delighted to be here this morning to be with you. And since we're going to spend a day together, talking, listening, doing things, some housekeeping items before we start with the day proper to make our day much more meaningful for you as well as for myself. So I've been teaching for the last 26 years. And over the years, I've learned something about teaching. When I started teaching, I was very presumptuous. Young and presumptuous. They generally go together. And I used to believe that people came to my classes to learn things. Over the years, I've become a little wiser or a little more realistic. Because I've learned that people do not necessarily come to any class to learn. People come with different reasons, different motives, different needs. One more thing. When you come to a course such as this or go to any meetings or seminars, something happens. Imagine a triangle. And here is the baseline of the triangle, the horizontal line that represents the base of the triangle. Basically, what I want you to think is this is your field of consciousness, which is so wide, as it were. And all the different thoughts, which I'll represent by a vertical line on this base horizontal line, represent different thoughts in your mind at this time. So some of you are wondering, what am I doing here? Some of you are wondering, is this guy in pajamas supposed to be the professor who taught in the United States and Canada? Something is wrong about this. Because you expect a professor to be in a suit or something. How many expected me in a suit? Raise your hand. It's all right. Yesterday you did. All right. So then some of you are wondering, what is my wife or my husband doing while I'm sitting here listening to this guy? Some of you are thinking, if the seminar is bad, I hope the lunch is good at Oberoi. Some of you are wondering, where is the bathroom? I should have gone before I sat down here. And these and many other sundry thoughts go through your mind. So basically, you are not here mind, body, and spirit as you walk into this room and sit down. Any good communicator, lecturer, talker, seminar leader, his first job is to bring the audience at the tip of the triangle or as close to the tip of the triangle as possible, because what will it do? It will make them much more receptive to new ideas, new things, and what the speaker is talking about. I call this process grounding process, which means bringing your mind to the tip of the triangle to make you much more receptive to what's going on here today. There is another problem. As I said, people come here for different reasons. Some have come because there is nothing better to do on a Sunday in Bombay. So they say, oh, we'll eat at lunch at a Robro and listen to this guy for a while. Some have come because they've attended my seminars earlier and they found them worthwhile and so they want to come back. How many have been here before? 1, 2, 3, 4. So they thought it was nice and so let me get some more. Some are here because somebody sent them here. And how many are here because somebody sent them? Raise your hand. Or somebody brought them. And the whole crew, look at that. The man said, come, come. I said, what the hell, where am I going today? So they are sent by somebody. Some are here because companies send them. It's an income tax rebate. Some are here to listen to my stories. Somebody said, this guy tells good stories. So if nothing else, listen to the stories. Some are here to correct my grammar. Yeah, they found out the man got an English degree in somewhere in America. Americans don't speak English, so we'll correct his grammar. So they are here, making a list of my errors. I want you to know that regardless of your needs, you're welcome. And I hope to satisfy most of your needs, including the need to correct my grammar. I'll commit lots of errors, so you'll have a filled day here. But in addition to all this, I want you to get something more. I want you to get some more things out of today than you bargained for. But there is a catch, and the catch is that you have brought with you a perception of reality, the way of looking at things. So some of the things I'll tell you, you'll find that those things go against what you believe in or what you think to be right or what you think to be reality. One of the reactions that human beings have when they are faced with something new is resistance. You resist new things. Just to give you an idea, all of you, please cross your arms for a minute. Just cross your arms. Now look at the way you crossed your arms. This is probably the first time you noticed how you cross your arms in your entire life. Now keep looking at your arms and do it differently. Cross your arms differently. How does it feel? How does it feel? Uncomfortable. How else is it? Any other comments? Slight discomfort. Awkward, slight discomfort. You understand? Because basically, your body has cultivated this habit. Now, just as there are habits of the body, there are habits of the mind. Nobody probably mentioned that to you ever. What do you mean, habits of the mind? Let me tell you what I mean by the habits of the mind. You are also used to thinking in a particular fashion about things. You perceive things in a particular light. What light that is depends on your cultural background. It depends on your linguistic background. It depends on your religious background. It depends on your professional background. It depends on your educational background, your upbringing, your neighbors, your food habits, and all sorts of factors. Now, whenever I say something which does not fit that pattern, the first reaction is this is uncomfortable. Fair enough? I'm warning you so you know that if there is a discomfort. Because what happens most of the time, people, during this time of discomfort, or I call it the time of transition, they give up. They don't want to learn something new because it is uncomfortable. Any new habit, whether you go from a good habit to a bad one, or from a bad habit to a good one, there is necessarily a transition period which is an uncomfortable period. Which means when I teach you how to relax, some people find it the most uncomfortable experience because they've been so comfortable being tense. Think about it. They've been so comfortable being tense that relaxing is an uncomfortable thing for them. The hardest group of people, the most difficult group of people I ever worked with in my entire life was the police officers in Montreal. Their entire training was to be on guard. They stand on the street corners with their hands on their guns, looking on both sides that nobody comes and attacks them from any corner. And you tell them in a classroom, please close your eyes and relax. What? Because closing their eyes to them meant losing touch with reality or losing contact with reality. Because eyes are one of the organs through which we test reality. We test reality through our different organs. Does it make sense? We think, we are okay, secure in this world because we have all these different senses. And eyes are the ones which are very, very important because that through which we can see things. So suddenly you are told to close your eyes, and police officers closing their eyes, it was a horrible experience for them. So they found the experience of relaxation most tension producing. So what I want you to be aware of is during this period of transition, I invite you to go through that discomfort because it is essential for you to learn new things. The rewards are fantastic. So some of the things I'll tell you, you might find new, but keep an open mind. And during this transition period, keep doing it. Go through that period of discomfort before you get something out of the experience. There is one more thing. See, ostensibly, you are all here to learn hypnosis. That's the declared purpose, at least. You come here, the class is announced, that's a course on self-hypnosis, and you paid your fees, and you came here and sat down. Everybody knows we are here to learn self-hypnosis. As I've told you, over the years in teaching, I've learned something. I know that if I tell you right now, okay, ladies and gentlemen, now that you've come here to learn self-hypnosis, please close your eyes. you know what will happen? You will start looking around. You know, no, 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 do it to him first before I do it. You know, because you are not ready for it. You are not ready for it. In psychological terms, we call it you are not conditioned for it. That you have to be prepared to do something, to do it well. Or if I use a Zen metaphor, you know, the cup has to be emptied out before you could put something new into that cup. Does it make sense? If the cup is full, you cannot put any liquid or anything else into that cup. The first requirement, you have to empty it. Make sense? So what I'm doing right now is preparing you for it. Let me tell you a story. There was a diamond merchant, very rich. He was on his deathbed. While he was on his deathbed, he had a son who was about 13 years old. And he had an old-time munim. You know, the modern times managers, in old times, they were munimjis. You know, so this old-time munim had been with the man throughout his career in diamond business. So as the man was on his deathbed, he called his son and the munim, and he puts his son's hand in the munim's hand, and he says, listen, he tells his son. He said, I'm about to say goodbye to this world. I leave you with this munim who has been with us throughout our professional life. I want you to learn the business from him and consider him as if he's your father. And as a parting gift, I give you this beautiful diamond. And with him, he gave him a diamond weighing some 60 carats. Man died. The boy started learning business. He started learning business. As it happens in diamond business, it goes up and down. You know, it depends on Russians are bringing out more diamonds, or the South Africans, or the De Beers monopoly. You know, so diamond business was down about 3 years down the time. The son goes to he was about 16 years old by this time, and he goes to the munim and says, Munimji, the business is bad. We owe a lot of people to we owe a lot of money to a lot of people. And I have this beautiful diamond that father gave me as a parting gift. Why don't we sell it, you know, and get out of all these debts? Munimji said, listen, son, he says, this happens in business, he says. Wait, you know, this will pass. We'll come out of it. It's not good to sell such a beautiful diamond weighing so much at this time. You know, we'll get much more money later on in business. Don't worry about such things. We'll come out of it. The son says, all right. 2-3 years, the son was a mature businessman by this time. The business was also good. They were out of debt. They were making money. So the munim called the son one day. He says, listen, now you know the business well, and the time is also good. Diamonds are fetching great prices. So if you want to sell that diamond that your father gave you, this is the right time to do so. The son says, you're right. He goes to the safe, opens the safe, takes out this 60-carat diamond, looks at it, throws it out of the window. And he tells the Munimji, he says, why didn't you tell me my father gave me a piece of glass before he died? Munim says, if I told you then, you wouldn't have believed me because you were not ready for it. Now you know the difference. Are you with me? Yeah. So you have to be ready for it before you learn something new. And that's the crucial aspect of teaching. If you want to be a successful teacher, if you want to be a successful communicator, successful in anything, be aware of this sense of timing. The people have to be ready to be taught something. People have to be ready to be told something. So, we're going to go around the room now and be a little more familiar with the group and the participants and find out what really brings you here. You know, as I said, people, your ostensible purpose is that you want to learn hypnosis or self-hypnosis. Now you'll find different things. What I want you to do is say your name loudly and clearly, what you do, and what brings you here. Your name, what do you do, and what brings you to this course. Have I missed anybody? You have any questions of me? Yeah, because there are always small things that bother people sometimes, and so you are not up here. Yes.
Professor, I'm just interested to know that what brought you to this subject of hypnosis, particularly, how you became interested about it.
How I became interested in hypnosis. I studied music, and I started teaching music, terrible music once upon a time. Now I'm a little better. When I was 17 years old, I was teaching music in an elementary school. And I used to perform also, sing or play the sitar. Sometimes I thought I was very good, but the audience didn't agree. And other times, I thought I was terrible. The audience thought I was good. So I thought, what is this? I mean, there's some other things which influence their reaction. And in a very elementary fashion, in a very primitive way, I started investigating that at the 17-year-old age, as to what are the other factors that could be influencing them. And I found out how was the lighting, how was the PA system, public address system, who introduced me, whether they had paid to listen or they were just there for no reason, or somebody pushed them in. And all these factors combined influence their reaction. So I always was interested in mass psychology. So when I went to States and Canada, I specialized in languages initially, and which was communication, because I studied the communication techniques of different masters in the field. And since I was interested in teaching also, it is again communication, because there is one profession, namely teaching, where your qualifications do not qualify you to do the job, which is a sad part. Give you what I mean by that. Say if you have a MA in English literature, or MA in Sanskrit, or PhD in chemistry, or whatever, then they put you as a teacher of chemistry, Sanskrit, or whatever. You know a lot about chemistry, you know a lot about Sanskrit or English literature, but you don't know first thing about how to teach it. If you're a medical doctor, your training prepares you for the profession. If you're an engineer, your training prepares you for the profession. But in teaching profession, you are prepared for the subject matter, but never for the profession of teaching. Does it make sense? So when I started teaching, I learned it on job, so to speak. Because when I was teaching in Ahmedabad, where I come from, there are 44 students, and I was one of them initially in other classes while I was teaching at very young age. I knew that when the teacher was boring, as a student, all of us rub our sandals and chappals on the bare cement floor, which made a hell of a racket. And so when the principal is talking the corridor, making notes, and this is known as instant feedback. 44 people rubbing their shoes on the cement floor, that noise is instant feedback. He doesn't have to wait for filling out forms. Did you like this course? Did you enjoy this course? None of that. It's all right there, in this noise. So I realized when I walked into the classroom that my job was not to teach them music or Hindi or Sanskrit. My job initially was to keep them from rubbing their sandals. And so I learned it on the job. And then later, after languages, I specialized in psychology of religion. Because I found that they were the masters of communication, the religious leaders. Even today they are. Look at any religious leader in India or abroad, in the Christianity hall, Billy Graham, for example, Crusader, or here we have a whole lot of them. Because they know how to work with masses and groups. And one of these things in the byproduct was hypnosis, or because it basically deals with suggestion and communication. So that is how I got into it.